Hi students, how are you? I hope you are well. Last class we discussed about from trade to territory. From trade to territory, Vasco da Gama reached India in 1498. Battle of Plassey. It was a fight between the Raj Dowla and the British governor Robert Clive. At last, Raj Dowla was defeated and the British took place captured the Bengal. It was happened in 23rd June 1757. After that, Battle of Buxar was take place in 1764. After next Carnatic Wars, we have three Carnatic Wars. First one is the first Carnatic War, second Carnatic War, and third Carnatic War. In the Carnatic War is based with the succession in Europe. The war was between the French and English. It already take place in the French America and French government for what means successions. The same problems are existed in India. In first Carnatic War, the succession in Europe, the English and French company. Battle of Adyar was happened. In the Battle of Adyar, Nawab of Carnatic Anwaruddin appealed the British to help. At last, Mahjur Khan at Santham on the banks of the river Adyar. This was the first occasion where the superiority, well-trained and well-equipped European army over the Indian army was proved and beyond doubt. And next one, Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. There was a end between the two government, that is Austrian War of Succession to an end. There was an agreement between the Madras was returned back to the English and the French in turn got the territories in North America. And second Carnatic War, the Battle of Amber, Battle of Orchard, Treaty of Pondicherry. In third Carnatic War, we have Battle of Vandivers, Treaty of Paris. After that, Mysore and is resistant to British and expansion. Mysore and is resistant in British expansion. The first Anglo-Mysore War, in the Treaty of Madras, there was an agreement in the Treaty of Mysore, the second Anglo-Mysore War, and Treaty of Mangalore, Treaty of Srirangapatnam, fourth Anglo-Mysore War, Mysore after the war. Up to this we learned in last class. Today we are going to see about the Anglo-Mysore Wars. In Anglo-Mysore Wars there are three. First Anglo-Maratha War, second Anglo-Maratha War, and third Anglo-Maratha War. First Anglo-Maratha War, it 1775 to 1782, second Anglo-Maratha War 1803 to 1805, and third Anglo-Maratha War 1817 to 1818. The Maratha managed to overcome the crisis caused by the defeat of Panipat. After the decade, recovered their control over Delhi. However, the old Maratha confederacy controlled by the Peshwa had given the way 5 virtually independent states: the Peshwa at Pune, Gaiwads at Baroda, Bonsal at Nagpur, Holkars at Indore, and Sisidas at Gwalior. The Peshwa government was weakened by the internal rivalries, and the other 4 leaders were often hostile to one another. Despite this, the Maratha were still formidable. The internal conflict among the Marathas were best utilized by the British in their expansion policy. In first Anglo-Maratha War in 1781, Warren Hastings dispatched the British troops under the Captain Pomp. He defeated the Maratha chief Mahadaji Sinida in a number of small battles and captured and Gwalior. Later on 17th May 1782, the Treaty of Salbai was signed between the Warren Hastings and Mahaji Sindhi. And next one, second Anglo-Maratha War, there was a Yashwantrao Holkar made an attempt to form a coalition of Indian rulers to fight against the British, but his attempt proved unsuccessful. The Marathas were defeated, reduced to British vassalage, and isolated from one another. Thus, the Maratha power was gradually weakened. The English East India Company started becoming the paramount power of India. Likewise, the British peoples are ready to occupying the small places and defeated the Indian kingdoms. The third Anglo-Maratha War, it was a confederacy dissolved and Peshwa was abolished. The Peshwaship was Peshwa Baji Road II was annexed and became the part of the Bombay Presidency. The Baji Road II, last Peshwa of Maratha, was given annual pension of 8 lakh rupees. At last, the British people occupied most of the places in India and British administrative organization in India. Now the British, how the British are occupy, how they capture and control our country. The British India administration was run by four principal institutions. They are civil services, army, police and judiciary. They form a four government. First one is a civil service and second one is the army and third one police and fourth one judiciary. First one civil service. The term civil service was used for the first time by the East India Company to distinguish civilian employees for the military counterparts. The word civil service is used first time in India East India Company, while the civilian employments the military counterparts. Translating law into action and collecting revenue were the main jobs of the civil service. What the work means? Translating. They providing law, that law want to establish and collecting the revenue, collecting the money. That was the work of civil service. The civil service was initially commercial in nature, but later it was turned into the public service. Starting time it was a commercial work, it is a basic work, and later it was a public service. In the beginning, the appointment to this service was sole prerogative of the court of directors of the company. In the beginning, it was a very service, it is a little services in the court of director of the company. We know we have some civil services. The Indian Civil Service Act of 1861 passed by the British Parliament exclusively reserved the certain categories by high executive and judicial post of the conservative civil service, which had the later designed the Indian Civil Service. Due to the lowering of age limit and holding of examination in London, it could be possible only for very wealthy Indians to appear at the ICS examination. These examinations are appeared only the higher class people and very wealthy people. In 1869, three Indians, Surendranath Banerjee, Ramesh Chandra Dutt, Bihari Lal Gupta, became the successful in the IAS, Indian Civil Service Examination. Indian Civil Service Examination, three people are participated. One is 1869 in Surendranath Banerjee, Ramesh Chandra Dutt and Bihari Lal Gupta became the successful in the ICS examination. Do you know Sandranath Tagore, the elder brother of poet Rabindranath Tagore, was the first Indian to pass the ICS examination in 1863. In 1863, Satyendranath Tagore, who is the brother of Rabindranath Tagore, he passed the ICS examination in 1863. And next one, strengthen the British Army. How they strengthen the British Army? Plassey War 1757, 1950, European infantry, 100 European artillery, 50 English sailors and 2,100 Indian sepoys, and English army of 6,000 troops were maintained in Bengal. In 1857, the strength of the army in India was 3,11,400, of whom 2,65,900 were Indians. Its officials were British. How the British people made strong means? In Plassey War, they have some counterpart. They have the 1950 European infantry. Many people, small people, kids and elders, youngsters, they made the work in the military works. In 1857, they make very powerful, strong army in India. Most of the people in British people and small people in little people in Indian peoples. Out of that, the higher officers are only the British. The military, the soldiers only the Indian people. Remaining higher authorities are in British people. Next one, police. The police system was created by Lord Cornwallis. He relieved the Jamindars from police function and established a regular police force in 1791. Cornwallis established a system of circles and thanas, each headed by a Daragah. The authority of the Daragah extended to village watchmen who perform the police duties in the villages. The police, first one, it is a civil service, and next one they established police. The police system was created by Cornwallis. He relieved the Jamindars from the police function in 1791. Cornwallis formed one system. In villages, that is a watchman. Higher authority is the police. The police system was created by the Lord Cornwallis. Before the post of district superintendent, the police was created. All the thanas are under the general supervision of the district DG. In 1808, the superintendent of police was appointed for each division. Later, the district collector was entrusted with the task of collecting the police force in the district. The main task of the police was to handle crime and to prevent the conspiracy against the British rule. We know the police has to take the control the crime unto if they are made any criminals want to arrest them and put it into the office. That is the work of the police. The police are work as a commander and the chief role in the British service. And next one, judicial system. Judicial system means this is a court. The Supreme Court was established in Madras in 1801 and in Bombay in 1823. In 1832, William Bentinck started jury system in Bengal. An Indian Law Commission was established to compile the laws. A rule of law was established for the whole empire. According to the Indian High Court Act 1861, the three high courts were set up in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras in place of the old Supreme Courts. Judicial system means it is a court. Okay, we know we have four courts: Supreme Court, High Court, District Court and Subordinate Court. The Supreme Court was established in Madras 1801 and Bombay in 1823. 1832, William Bentinck started the jury system in Bengal. A law commission was established to compile the laws. A set of rule was established by the British people. According to the Indian High Court Act 1861, the three high courts are set up in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras in the place of the old Supreme Courts. Subsidiary alliance. Lord Wellesley introduced the system of subsidiary alliance to bring the princely state under the control of the British. It was the most effective instrument for the expansion of the British territory and political influence in India. A princely state was called protector state and the British came to be referred to as paramount power. It was the duty of the British to safeguard the state from external aggression and to help its ruling in maintaining the internal peace. The subsidiary alliance means it was the effective instrument for the British territory and political influence in India. The British princely state called protector state. They have the safeguard the state and external aggression and to help the ruler and maintaining the internal peace. To maintain the internal peace. And next one, main features of subsidiary alliance. First point, an Indian ruler entering into an alliance with the British had to dissolve in own armed force and accept the British first. If an Indian entered to the British force means they have to accept the British force. Second one, a British resident would stay in his capital. The British resident would stay his capital. And third one, the native ruler should deal with the foreign state only to the English company. The British would undertake to defend the state from the internal trouble as well as the external attack. The tours in all the English non-Europeans are all the non-English European officials should be turned out of the state. If they follow the British rule means they have to native rulers should deal with the foreign states and only to the English company. The British should define the state from the internal trouble as well as the external attack. And next one, merits for the British. The British company maintaining a large army at the expense of the Indian rulers. All Frenchmen in the service of native ruler were dismissed and the danger of French revolt was completely eliminated. The British company began to control the foreign policy of the princely state. Wellesley diplomacy made the British the paramount power in India. He transformed the British Empire in India into the British Empire of India. The Wellesley diplomacy, the paramount to India. He transferred the British Empire in India to the British Empire of India. He transferred the power. He maintained the army. All the Frenchmen have the native rulers were dismissed and the danger of French revolt completely eliminated. The French peoples are eliminated. They have the control the foreign policy with the princely states. Defects of the princely state. The subsidiary alliance made the Indian rulers weak, oppressive and irresponsible. Protected by British arms, they neglected the duty towards the subject and even exploited them. First one, subsidiary alliance made the Indian ruler weak, oppressive and irresponsible. The Indian rulers are weak and oppressive. Protected with the British arms, they neglected the duty towards the subjects and even exploited them. Doctrine of lapse. By applying the doctrine of lapse policy, Dalhousie annexed Satara in 1848, Jaipur and Sambalpur in 1849, Bahat of 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Jhansi in 1853 and Nagpur in 1854. Doctrine of lapse. The doctrine of lapse means the king does not have child, means they have adopted the child. The adopted child not belongs to them kingdom. So if the kingdom does not have own child, means then the country get from the Europeans. The countries are taken by the British people. The kingdom who does not have a child, the kingdom would go to the British paramount amount. This principle is called the doctrine of lapse. In this policy, Dalhousie annexed Satara in 1848, Jaipur and Sambalpur in 1849, Baghdad in 1850, Udaipur in 1852 and Jhansi in 1853 and Nagpur in 1854. By the doctrine of lapse, the king does not have child, means then the country was taken by the British government. Factors for the success of the British. Why the British people get success? First they fight with the French people, and then they fight with the small kingdoms in Indians. At last the British occupied whole country. How they succeed means they have the naval power, they have good navy, development of textile, they developing the good textile, scientific division of labor, they have good laborers, workers and economic. They have money and skillful knowledge, diplomacy of the British. Feelings of insecurity among the Indian merchants. They are very secure. They are inequality and ignorance of the Indian kings. Indian kings are very ignorant. Ignorance have inequality. They have the knowledge to fight. They have not a good knowledge to fight with the British. Thus the succession of the British. And next one, conclusion. The Battle of Plassey was the foundation of British dominion in India. The company's administration was not for the interest of people. It was the imperialistic, expansionist and exploitative. It brought more Indian territories under British dominion through subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. This policy led to the South Indian Rebellion, Vellore Rebellion and the Great Rebellion. The Battle of Plassey is the stepping stone of British, and again the Battle of Plassey, again the Battle of Buxar and first Anglo-Maratha was. After that they captured many places and they became the British occupy the whole country. This was the starting place of the British. They also captured many territories under the British through the subsidiary alliance and the doctrine of lapse. They have some policy, that is the subsidiary alliance policy, doctrine of lapse policy. This policy led to the South Indian Rebellion, Vellore Rebellion and Great Rebellion. At last the British people captured whole country. Up to this lesson completed. Now take your book and material to spread the words. Thank you students. See you in next class.